I am greeted by a boat full of journalists. On board are friends and my father. What a joy it is to see them all. But fatigue takes its toll. This entry, dated April 19th, 1969, was made in the ship's log by the Briton Robin Knox-Johnston. 3 days later, he finished the first non-stop round-the-world race for solo sailors in history. At the start of the regatta, few could have predicted that out of 9 participants, only 1 would reach the finish line. In 1968, 9 sailors set out to sea. The impetus for the round-the-world voyage was the feat of Francis Chichester, who, in 225 days and with just 1 stop, rounded the 3 Great Capes: Cape Horn, the Cape of Good Hope, and Cape Leeuwin. Before this, no one in the world had undertaken such round-the-world voyages. The race was covered by one of the British newspapers, which fueled public interest. Journalists dubbed the Golden Globe Regatta the race of the century. The first to cross the finish line would take home a prize of £5,000 sterling. At today's exchange rate, adjusted for inflation, that's over 11 million rubles. The same amount, according to the race conditions, would go to the sailor with the best time. The start could be on any day between June 1st and October 31st. Throughout the round-the-world voyage, the yacht was not allowed to enter any port, make any stops, and so on. If it broke down for any reason, the repairs had to be made during the voyage, during the race. If it was necessary to disembark, for example, to some islands or elsewhere, it was considered a withdrawal from the race. 5 participants dropped out in the first months of the regatta. Some quit due to breakdowns, others were swept onto reefs. And the Italian Alex Carrozzo developed a stomach ulcer. Some sailors were simply not prepared for a solo round-the-world voyage, neither mentally nor physically. The newspaper did not impose many rules on the sailors, as few people dared to participate in the non-stop round-the-world regatta. Anyone of any nationality, with any level of experience, or even without experience, could take part in the race. There were no special requirements for the vessels either. The Frenchman Loïc Fougeron was the only participant who did not set sail alone. However, technically, he did not violate the rules. Sailors were forbidden from taking people on board, but Fougeron brought along a stray cat he had picked up in the port before the start. However, Rulisse, as the race participant named his furry companion, turned out to be a real troublemaker. She trashed the cabin, stole food, and chewed on the rigging. Friendship did not blossom, and Fougeron wrote that he was ready to build a raft for the cat Rulisse and send her to the nearest shore. Of course, the Frenchman was joking, but he did get rid of the cat. The furry troublemaker was handed over to the sailors of the first passing cargo ship. Soon after, Loïc Fougeron himself dropped out of the race. Unable to bear the solitude, he went ashore. His friend Bernard Moitessier also did not reach the finish line, but for a completely different reason. He enjoyed traveling alone so much that he decided not to return to Europe. He said, "I'll drop out and go." And he went for a second lap. And he didn't even go for a second lap, but headed to Tahiti, saying that races weren't for him, but rather the journey and connection with the ocean were. Bernard Moitessier was the main competitor to Robin Knox-Johnston. He too had every chance of finishing first. When the Frenchman dropped out, the Briton became the undisputed leader of the race. He was welcomed with open arms. And on April 22nd, 1969, he finally crossed the finish line. 312 days, 30,000 miles, non-stop around the world. That's how the race ended. Robin Knox-Johnston started almost 2 months before his competitors. For the Briton, this was perhaps the only chance to win the race. His yacht, the Suhaili, was slower than the others. Moreover, breakdowns occurred constantly. Friends, I would like to recommend our second channel, Echoes of Truth. Incredibly interesting stories, an unexpected look at the most incredible events of history and modern times. You will travel to places that are not on the map, the mysteries of dangerous relics and ancient prophecies. Unexplained facts and historical sensations of different eras will be studied, and will find a convincing explanation, new answers to old questions. Facts that journalists have been silent about for a long time. Independent assessment of events that changed the world. Investigations of the most sensational stories, and a fresh look at well-known historical facts. News from all areas of human knowledge and mysteries of the secret corners of our subconscious. All this and other incredible stories await you in new issues. Once, Knox-Johnston discovered a leak between the hull and the keel. This leak had to be fixed, and since the yacht was small by modern standards, he had to drift and, consequently, go outside the boat, circling it to patch the hole with makeshift means. At that very moment, he encountered a shark, which he had to kill. After Knox-Johnston's finish, one question remained open. Who would take the prize for the best race time? The main contenders for this award were the Britons Nigel Tetley and Donald Crowhurst. Judging by the coordinates transmitted by the sailors, they were literally neck and neck. But just days before the finish, Tetley dropped out of the race. During a storm, one of his masts fell and damaged the hull of his vessel. A leak formed. This leak could no longer be fixed independently. The vessel began to sink. He managed to send a distress signal, Mayday, and the coastal services picked him up before the vessel sank. And essentially, he ended up completely in the water. That's how his story ended. Donald Crowhurst remained the last one still in the race. It seemed the prize for the best time was his for the taking, especially since the British sailor had embarked on the solo round-the-world voyage solely for the money. Donald's main occupation was a business selling electronics. When the business failed, the exemplary family man, father of 4 children, decided to participate in the race of the century. Donald Crowhurst found a sponsor who lent him money for the voyage. In doing so, he mortgaged everything he had, the remnants of his business, his house, car, and land. Crowhurst managed to convince the sponsors that he would be the winner of this race. However, the Briton chose a frankly unsuitable yacht for a round-the-world race. Immediately after the start, numerous defects were discovered, which had to be urgently fixed during the voyage. Time was running out. Abandoning the race threatened inevitable bankruptcy. And then Donald Crowhurst decided to cheat. He decided to go all the way. And while not actually circumnavigating the globe, he actually headed to the Falkland Islands and waited there for the first participants who had actually circumnavigated the globe to approach him. He thought that he would reach the finish line with them. Donald Crowhurst kept 2 ship's logs, one real, the other fake, where he recorded fictitious details of the non-existent round-the-world voyage. Meanwhile, the sailor transmitted fake coordinates of his location via radio. Judging by them, the Briton was one of the race leaders. No one could have imagined that all this time he was simply anchored near the Falkland Islands in the southwestern part of the Atlantic. The fake coordinates from Crowhurst came in regularly. He also reported made-up stories, which won him the love of the public following the race. Even one of the British tabloids signed a contract with Crowhurst over the radio to publish a book. The cheat did not want to finish first. He understood that the winner's ship's log would be scrutinized particularly thoroughly by the Commission, and thus inconsistencies would certainly be discovered. The sailor decided that finishing in the top 3 would be enough to gain fame and recognition, which could later be converted into money. But competitors dropped out of the race one by one, and when Nigel Tetley dropped out, Crowhurst made the last entry in his ship's log. "I must not continue the game. There's no point in the suffering. It's all over." After that, the Briton disappeared. The vessel was found without him sometime later. What really happened? Whether he committed suicide or fell into the water, no one knows. Anything can happen to sailors when they are alone with the ocean. Robin Knox-Johnston received both prizes of the race of the century as the only participant to reach the finish line. But he gave all the money to Donald Crowhurst's family. Later, Knox-Johnston won several more prestigious regattas. He was recognized as the Sailor of the Year in Britain 3 times, and even awarded a knighthood. At 86, the veteran sailor still sails under sail. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And please leave a comment below. I read every single one, and your feedback means the world to me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.